All right, welcome everybody. We're going to wait just about 10 seconds more to make sure that everybody's connected before we start any content. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. All right, hi everybody. Good afternoon. I'm Tim Fuchs with the National Council on Independent Living. I want to welcome you to our latest ILNet teleconference and webinar, Know Your Resources. This is an orientation to the ILNet National Training and Technical Assistance Center for Independent Living. Today's presentation is brought to you by the ILNet Training and Technical Assistance Project for Center for SILs and SILCs. The ILNet is operated by ILRU in collaboration with Nickel, April, and the University of Montana. Support for the project, for the center, I should say, is provided by the Administration for Community Living with the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. So I want to run through just some logistics, housekeeping, and accessibility before we start today. As always, we are recording today's session so that we can archive it on ILRU's website. We'll put that up within 48 hours. And we are currently in presentation mode or webinar mode. So all of your lines, your videos are off. You can take a deep breath. Your lines are muted, but we do have lots of time for Q&A today. And so I'll go through the Q&A process in just a moment. But we'll have ample time for questions and answers today, and I hope you all will take advantage of that. So, you know, in this year of Zoom, entering year 2 of Zoom, I guess, I think you all know the Q&A tab pretty well. That's in your Zoom menu bar at the bottom of your screen. You can use that anytime at all during the presentation, but we will wait until our Q&A break to address them. Oh, and I'm sorry, I was on the wrong slide. Here, I thought I was on my intro slide. I'm going to click back to slide 2 where I should have been. Thanks to those of you that let me know that. So anyhow, you can use that Q&A tab anytime that you'd like today. There's a few other ways that you can ask questions, mostly in the interest of accessibility. So if that Q&A tab is not convenient or accessible for you, there's a few other ways you can do that. You can email your questions to me at tim@nickel.org. That's tim@ncil.org. I've got my inbox open and I'll keep an eye out for your questions as we go through the presentation. Of course, we are running captions in Zoom right now. And let me just let you know, if you don't see those, you can click Show Subtitle in your closed caption options. If you don't see a closed caption option in your menu bar, you'll want to look to the very right, the far right of your Zoom menu bar for the little ellipses. There's 3 dots that says More. Click that, and on that pop-up menu, one of the options should say Show Subtitle, run right underneath closed captioning. You can turn that on. You can manipulate the font size of Zoom captions. They've improved that in the last few months, which is great. But please know that we're also simulcasting these same captions at stream text. And that URL is just a little too long to read, but we will put that in the chat to all of you in just a moment. And so you can access that there. And let's see, the other thing I wanted to mention, oh, back to the questions. So I'm logged in to that chat screen at stream text right now. And you can enter your questions there as well if you prefer. And I'm just going to push this URL out. So here's the, again, captioning is definitely displaying in Zoom right now. But if you prefer, you can use that link at stream text. Nice thing about that is you can adjust the font size, contrast, and color. You could do very large font if you prefer. And it runs for the full screen. So please know that's an option. Finally, if you're only on the phone today and cannot submit a question in the ways that I just described, you can press *9 on your keypad. So I'd like to reserve that option for folks. I know some of you are both connected via the computer and listening on the phone. If possible, I'd like to save that option for folks that need that as an accommodation, just because it does take some extra time to look through the list of participants, unmute lines, and go to callers. I'm more than happy to do that for folks that need it as an accommodation, but it wouldn't be efficient to try to do that for everybody. So if you can use the Q&A tab or email me a question, please do. If not, you're welcome to press *9. Okay. Let's see. A couple of the things I wanted to mention before we start. First of all, when we finish the webinar today, you'll notice that an evaluation form will open right in your browser. We've got a robust evaluation process for the ILNet, and we want to make sure that we have all of your feedback, that we know what you thought of today's webinar. It's a short form. It doesn't take long to fill out. If you could share your thoughts with us, we would very much appreciate it, and I will remind you of that before we end today. Okay, and we've got the better part of our team here. We've got a lot of folks from each of the partner organizations. They're going to talk about the work that they do. Of course, there's a much larger team of folks that enables us to pull off the work of the ILNet Center. But we've got some great folks with us, and I really appreciate the time that everyone's taken to put together a snapshot of the work that they do for the center. We decided a few years ago, probably about 5 years ago, to start doing this webinar every year because it is a complex project. There's a ton of activities. There's a lot of organizations involved, and we realize that it can be a little overwhelming. And I'm so excited again to see over 350 people signed up for this presentation. We've got 113 on live right now, and I know that number is going to grow. So I'm so glad that this is that you all are taking advantage of it and that it's of interest to you all. So anyway, I wanted to introduce our presenters. We've got Brooke Curtis from ILRU. Brooke is a program coordinator with ILRU. Carol Eubanks is also here from ILRU. She's their instructional designer. Paula McElwee, who so many of you all know and work with, is ILNet's technical assistance coordinator. Richard Petty is here. Richard, of course, is co-director of ILRU and director of the ILNet National Training and Technical Assistance Center for Independent Living. And finally, Mary Willard is here from April. Mary is April's director of training and technical assistance. So thanks again to all of our presenters. And without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead to slide 3, where you can see just a reminder on that evaluation form that I mentioned, and then contact information for each of us. You know, all of us here, and we're going to talk more about this at the ILNet, have a responsibility for technical assistance. So you can reach out to any of us here to ask questions about the project or really about anything related to SILs and SILCs. We love to hear from you. We love getting your questions. And if we can't answer them ourselves, we'll make a point of connecting you with someone in IL who can. Here on slide 4, we have our learning objectives. So today, we're going to learn an overview of the ILNet TNTA Center for SILs and SILCs, the history, funding, and our roles, an overview of the website layout and the best method to search for resources on ILRU's website, and the wide array of training, resources, programs, and services available to SILs, SILCs, DSEs, consumers, and other stakeholders. And now I'm going to pause and turn it over to Richard and Brooke to give an overview of ILNet. This is a placeholder slide on slide 5, and I'm going to go now to slide 6 for how the ILNet is funded.
Tim, thank you very much, and welcome everyone. We're excited to be here to initiate this new cycle of the ILRU ILNet Training and Technical Assistance Center for Independent Living. As Tim said, I'm Richard Petty. I'm the director of the ILNet, and we have much to share, and we'll get right to it. Some of the questions that we often receive will begin with: the ILNet is funded through the Rehabilitation Act of 1973 as amended, as are Centers for Independent Living and statewide independent living councils. Funds are designated within the Rehabilitation Act, not specific funding levels, but that there is funding available for training and technical assistance for both centers and SILCs. The funding award is administered by our federal funding partner, the Administration for Community Living, Administration on Disability, Office of Independent Living Programs. Slide 7. And Tim alluded to this earlier. We have great key collaborators in operating this very large, comprehensive training and technical assistance project. And actually, we have 2 projects. And our collaborators are the National Council on Independent Living, NICL, April, the Association of Programs for Rural Independent Living, the University of Montana Rural Institute, and RTC Rural. Slide 8. The ILNet has been in operation now for over 27 years. It's been configured at times as a single program, and now it is configured as 2 programs, one for Centers for Independent Living and one for statewide independent living councils. And it's been a hallmark of the ILNet program is that the program capitalizes on the strengths of each collaborator. With the collaborators that we have a national perspective, a depth of understanding of independent living, a deep commitment to IL philosophy and practice, and we offer a range of services, and we do that to meet the training and instruction needs of centers and statewide independent living councils, of your staffs, of your boards, and we do it in such a way that you can select the activities that meet your needs at any particular time. And for more details, I will now call on ILRU's publications and training Associate Director, Brooke Curtis. So we'll move to slide 9, and Brooke, please proceed.
Thanks, Richard. Hi, everyone. Thanks again for being here. So as Richard said, we do have a great deal of training opportunities that we provide. So I'm just going to go through them today. So we do offer on-location trainings. And of course, because of COVID, we're offering this in a virtual manner. But most of these on-location trainings are going to be conducted along with national conferences. And then we're also going to be starting TNTA institutes, which I'll discuss a little bit further, and then Tim will discuss more so in depth. We also offer online courses. So these are, in the past, they've been 3 to 4 week long courses that are done online, and you get to, you get a further look on a certain topic. We are currently working on revamping those courses now. We also offer webinars and teleconferences, much like what you're attending today. Then we have the self-study web-based tutorials, also known as rapid courses. And these are really great. They're available 24/7 online, and you get a certificate of completion, which is really nice. Additionally, we have training manuals, sample policies and procedures, and other resources like fact sheets. And then a lot of our trainings, so our past on-location trainings and past webinars, are available on the website on demand. So if you miss a webinar, you can't attend, you have a conflict, It's going to be available on our website. We also have SIL to SIL and SILC to SILC peer mentoring, which Mary Willard will cover a little bit further in the presentation. In addition to intensive support, which can be individualized or statewide IL network trainings. And we have peer technical assistance group calls, which for SILs are for executive directors, program managers, and financial managers. And then we also have peer assistance group calls for SILCs and DSEs. And in addition to those group calls, we also have the rural conversation community calls, which are facilitated by April. We have electronic newsletters, blogs, and social media posting. A lot of you, I'm sure, receive our Second Tuesday newsletter. And I'll discuss some other newsletters that we're starting this year. And then we have learning collaboratives. So these are cohorts of SILs working together over a time period on a specific objective. And as Tim mentioned earlier, we all also provide technical assistance. So we're here to answer your questions and support your needs. Next slide, please. So I'm really excited to discuss what's new with the ILNet. So like I said, many of you are receiving our Second Tuesday newsletter. Something that we're starting this year is our Fast News. So this is a compilation of all that is new on the ILRU website, just ensuring that you're up to date on everything independent living. And if you can subscribe to that newsletter here, and it goes out every Wednesday. So another thing that's going to be new this year, well, really starting next fiscal year, is going to be the biannual TNTA Institutes. These are going to be on-location trainings hosted by the ILNet. We also now have TA office hours. So these are hosted by Paula McElwee, our technical assistance coordinator, and they're monthly office hours, and she's going to tell you a little bit more about that during her presentation. So new branding under development in response to federal partners' request. So there could be some branding changes, and we will keep you updated on this. And then, so as I mentioned earlier, we are revamping our online courses. So currently the courses are suspended for this year. But you know, if you took our online courses last year, they're great. We're just looking to make them a little bit better and make improvements to them. So those courses will be offered in year 2. Next slide, please. And I will go ahead and turn it back over to Richard. Thanks, everyone.
Oh, Richard, I think you're on mute. Oh, you came off and went back on. Can you try it one more time?
There, thank you.
There we
That's
are.
how that happened the first time.
Sorry,
I
I didn't
appreciate
notice
that
it.
very much. Okay, we have an organization chart on this slide, and it is the organization chart of ILRU's ILNet Training and Technical Assistance Center for Independent Living, and this project, this chart is the overall organization of the center that then serves both Centers for Independent Living and statewide independent living councils. And you can see at the top that ILRU is the lead organization. We'll say more about ILRU's specific role as we proceed. There are 3 connected boxes below ILRU, and those are our key collaborators. National Council on Independent Living, NCIL. NCIL does logistics for on-location trainings and webinars. Facilitates learning collaboratives, an important new approach to learning. the Association of Programs for Rural Independent Living, April, addresses peer-to-peer mentoring and rural community conversations. Those are web conferences that are held monthly. And this is an important point that I can make right now to help what sometimes becomes a point of confusion is that the partner organizations have different roles and different work that they do aside from their roles with the ILNet TNTA Center. For example, Mary Willard is Technical Assistance Coordinator for April, and for the ILNet TNTA Center, Mary Willard is Coordinator of Peer Mentoring and of Rural Community Conversations. So that's a different role in this particular project. And the third box, our third key collaborator, is the University of Montana Rural Institute and RTC Rural. And the Rural Institute is directed by Dr. Martin Blair, and Paula McElwee is the Technical Assistance Coordinator for this ILNet TNTA Center. Let's go to slide 12. This is an overview of ILRU. ILRU was created in 1977. It is a program of TIRR Memorial Hermann. TIRR is the Institute for Rehabilitation and Research. ILRU was founded, again, in 1977 to conduct research on independent and community living and to provide training and technical assistance to organizations that support community and independent living for people with disabilities. ILRU is housed with its companion program, the National Center for Aging and Disability. The ILNet TNTA Center for SILs and SILCs is a principal program of ILRU, and ILRU operates other programs. The Southwest ADA Center, the ADA Participatory Action Research Consortium, that's the ADA Park, the Aging and Disability Business Institute with our partners at the National Association of Area Agencies on Aging, and a number of research projects, several of which focus on independent and community living for people with disabilities. Let's move to slide 13. And let's talk a little bit more about ILRU's role in the ILNet. ILRU is the federal grantee and oversees the TNTA Center. ILRU conducts and oversees instructional design for all training activities of the center, conducts intensive support for SILs and SILCs, develops and publishes training manuals, PowerPoints, handouts, materials, fact sheets, and a whole host of other materials. Provides individualized and group and statewide technical assistance. Develops and manages rapid course tutorials and online classes. And ILRU operates the extensive TNTA Center website. For more details, we're going to go to ILRU's Carol Eubanks, and we'll proceed to slide 14. And Carol, if you will move us forward, please.
All right, Richard, thank you. Hi, everyone. Let's just dive in and head over to slide 15. And we're going to start with a screenshot of the ilru.org homepage. We call this the portal for all things IL. So on the homepage, there are 8 navigation tabs across the top, and they are Home, About ILRU, Projects, Publications, Resources, Technical Assistance, Training, and Contact Us. There are 3 columns on the page, and located on the left column is Search This Site, with a blank box located underneath and a button labeled Search. And this is an efficient and popular way to search with keywords. So if you have something specific you want to search for, this is the best way to go about finding that information. Beneath that is a link to resources on COVID-19. If you haven't looked at this before, I'll just let you know that there is a lot of great information and tips that you will probably find very helpful. And then underneath is a mailing list sign up and fields to input identifying information. So if you're not on our mailing list already, you are missing out on great information, resources, and announcements. So make sure to get signed up for this. Then below that, there are 4 buttons. The first one is upcoming training, and this will reveal any trainings that are currently scheduled. Second is recent training, and this will list trainings that are now archived and are available on demand. Then latest news. These are items of general interest. And finally, job postings. So ILRU posts job announcements as a service for CILs, SILCs, and other disability-related organizations. Then in the middle column is Home, and under that is a short description of ILRU. Below that are listed 8 core areas of expertise, and those are Centers for Independent Living and the link to the directory of CILs, statewide independent living councils and the link to the directory of SILCs, CIL disability, diversity, and intersectionality, CIL business acumen, Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA Southwest ADA Center, Collaborative on Health Reform and Independent Living, Houston Livable Communities Initiative, and disaster preparedness for people with disabilities. And underneath that is a paragraph called Navigating Our Website, with an overview of ILRU services, materials, training and technical assistance information. And also our website is 508 compliant and it's fully accessible. So on the right side in the 3rd column, there's Browse by Topic. And this contains a bulleted list by alphabetical order of various topics of interest. This is a really good way to see all the different topics on our website. But if you're looking for something specific, like I said before, the quickest and most efficient way is to search through the Search This Site field that I referred to in the 1st column. So if we could now move to slide 16, please. Okay, so by opening the link to the Centers for Independent Living or Statewide Independent Living Councils, the link on the homepage, here you will find a complete list of training, including biennial institutes and on-location workshops, online courses. Of course, those, as Brooke said, will be revamped and available after October 2021. National webinars, and the web-based tutorials that we call rapid courses. And then we have publications for CILs and SILCs. We publish and update a directory of CILs and associations and a directory of SILCs. What's important here is to make sure to notify us with updates to address, phone number, name of director, etc. So your information remains up to date for those who use this directory to locate you and the great services and resources that you provide. So make sure to send updates to ilru@ilru.org. Our publications also include training manuals, both self-study and instructor-led. Examples include Choose, Get, Keep, Integrated Community Housing for CILs, and the guidebook for SILC chairpersons, members, and administrators. All right, let's move to next slide 17, please. Okay, the on-demand training catalog offers many of our previous on-location trainings that can be viewed as video recordings. A recent example is our first virtual multi-day training that was held in September of 2020, titled Financial Management for Centers for Independent Living, Regulations and Beyond. Going to the URL allows you to view the training and access all the materials, including the PowerPoints, handouts, any valuable checklists, etc. You can receive email verification for viewing trainings by completing the survey at the link shown on the slide. And then rapid courses. These are self-paced, web-based tutorials, fully accessible and available 24/7. These are free of charge and require registration to allow you to build and refer to your transcripts and print your certificates of completion. Course catalogs include Foundations of Independent Living, State Plan for Independent Living, Consumer Information Files, SIL Boards of Directors, SIL Core Services, Designated State Entity, and Statewide Independent Living Councils. We did recently publish 2 new courses, and the first one is Assessing Risk and Creating Institutional Diversion Strategies for SILs. And the second one is Expanding SIL Services for Youth in Transition. And we also updated the Consumer Service Records series, now called the Consumer Information File series, that includes important regulatory updates. So that's my piece of this. Let's move to the next slide 18 that I believe brings us to our first Q&A. Thank you.
And that is right. Thank you, Carol. So here we are on slide 18, our first Q&A break. So you all are welcome to submit any questions you'd like for the folks at ILRU and the overview. So again, the process for that, you can use the Q&A tab in Zoom. You can type your question there and it'll come to us. You can email me at tim@nickel.org. You can enter your question on the StreamText link if you're watching the captioning at StreamText. And finally, if you're on the phone, you can press *9. So we'll give a few moments to see if any questions come in. I realize it's early in the presentation, so if we don't get any questions in the next few moments, we'll move on. Here is one. Karen asks, I'm a SILC member and want to get notices about the various calls for SILC members. So Karen, if you're not already on ILRU's mailing list, you'll want to get signed up for that, and you'll see when we have different events that pertain especially to the SILCs. And Karen asked, can we send suggestions for trainings? We love suggestions for trainings. And we do topic selection in a variety of ways, from requests or suggestions from the field, just like you're describing, from the results of our evaluation forms, where regardless of topic, all of our evaluation forms ask, what other topics would you like to see us address? And then from the conversations and technical assistance that we have with you all, just all of the project staff are in close contact with SILs and SILCs. And so we kind of bring those requests and recommendations that we hear throughout the year. So you are more than welcome to suggest topics. We love that. Stefan asks, I'm sorry, this is abbreviated. It could be Stefan or Stephanie. I can't tell. My apologies. Do folks need to be employed by a SIL or SILC to attend webinars or receive newsletters, etc.? No, this project is certainly intended for the staff, boards, and consumers of SILs, SILCs, and DSEs. That is what the federal grants are intended for. However, we don't ask you to identify or improve your employment or anything like that. So if you are interested in the content that we're putting out, you are welcome to join us.
And Tim, hi, this is Richard Penny. And Karen's question may have come in just a little bit earlier, but it probably wouldn't hurt for us to say again how to sign up for the mailing list. And if Tim, if you can do that, or one of the ILRU team will help do that. Brooke, could you do that, please? Brooke may be on mute.
Sorry, I was on mute. Yes, we can get that done. And I think Sharon, if you could post that link, that would be great.
There is a link on the website, and we'll put that here today so that you can get to it.
Here's a relevant question from somebody who's logged in as anonymous. How does a SILC member get information from ILRU? I'm a self-paying NICL member, so I've been getting information. What happens to other members who are not NICL members? So that's really relevant. You know, this project, this Technical Assistance and Training Center does exist across our organizations. So to be sure to get everything regarding the ILNet TNTA Center, you will want to sign up for ILRU announcements. Now, NICL is going to send out announcements for everything that related to our activities for the center. But there are some things, as you're seeing, right? Resources, additional trainings, calls, mentorship programs that ILRU or April might be operating that may not come through on a NICL announcement. So that's the real value in signing up for those ILRU announcements.
If you're an individual SILC member, you could sign up yourself, or your SILC chair or your SILC director could sign up the entire SILC. All the members.
And Mary from April soliciting those SILC topic requests in the chat. You're welcome to check in with that. If you're not watching the chat, or you're on the phone, or it's not accessible to you, Mary, like I said, is saying that we would love to have topics and suggestions for SILC Speak calls or other ILNet activities. Okay, let's give about 5 seconds and see if any other questions come in. So again, you can type them in the Q&A tab. You may email me at tim@nickel.org. You're welcome to use the chat feature at Stream Text, or press *9 if you're on the phone. Okay, well, I don't see any now, so we'll go ahead and move on. But again, we'll have plenty of time for Q&A later in the webinar. I'm going to go ahead to slide 19, overview of on-location trainings, webinars, and learning collaboratives with me, Tim Fuchs from NICL. And for my role in the center, I'm the ILNet Training Logistics Coordinator. So I'm going to go ahead to slide 20 for an overview of NICL before I get into our specific center activities. So as many of you know, NICL stands for the National Council on Independent Living. We were founded in 1982, and NICL is the longest running national cross-disability grassroots organization run by and for people with disabilities. So not surprisingly, if you're new to IL, NICL is essentially the National Association of SILs and SILCs located in Washington, D.C. We've been involved in ILNet since its inception, so we're very lucky, very honored to have been here since the start, and that's since 1994. And for our role in the ILNet, NICL provides training and technical assistance activities for all SILs and SILCs through its work with the ILNet National Training and Technical Assistance Center for Independent Living. And you can visit us on our website at www.nicl.org. That's www.ncil.org. And again, now we do some cross promotion for other ILNet activities, but by and large, the activities that we send out are for the ones that we coordinate. And you can always find those on our website under our conference and trainings tab. That URL is listed here. It's a bit long, but all of our ILNet activities are posted at nicl.org/annual-conference/training, in addition to on the ILRU website. And again, that URL is a little bit long, but if you go to the NICL website at ncil.org, on our main menu bar, you will see conferences and trainings. And if you click on trainings, it will list all of our upcoming ISLEnet activities. I'm going to go ahead to slide 21. So for a high level overview, NICL coordinates the biennial institutes and on-location training workshops. Those biennial institutes Brooke mentioned earlier, those are new. They'll begin next year. And I'll talk more about those in a moment. We coordinate and host webinars, lots of webinars, coordinate the learning collaboratives, and of course, we provide technical assistance. And so let's dive a little bit deeper into each of these. I'm here on slide 22 now. And first up, the Biennial Institutes and on-location training workshops. So we will begin to offer the Biennial Institutes, and kudos to any of you who can keep track between biennial and biannual. And so this is the one that takes place every 2 years. So not 2 a year, every other year. And the first one will take place in year 2 of the grant, which is to say in 2022. So we just started a new funding cycle. So year 2 would be 2022. So this will be an in-person training if travel permits. These will probably be like day-and-a-half programs, and there will be a different topic that we'll highlight for each one. So it'll be sort of like a mini conference in a way. If travel restrictions remain in place due to COVID-19, the training will be virtual, of course. And as always, we're seeing, even with in-person events, the call for a virtual component, a virtual option is expected these days. So we'll certainly take that into consideration as well. But we will continue to offer on-location workshops and other presentations at IL conferences like the NICL conference, the April conference, and SILC Congress. So when we say on-location training workshops, that's what we're referring to there. And many of our previous on-location trainings are recorded. And when we talk about recording, this is not just a running video of a training as it occurs. All of the presentation materials are uploaded. All of the videos are broken out into modules that make it really easy, not only to make sense of and digest, but also, you don't have to wade through a 7-hour video of one day or another. It will be broken out by topic area and can be really manageable. If you haven't seen those on ILRU's on-demand page, I would encourage you to check one out and see how they're organized. They're really fantastic. We really do record virtually everything. So when we say many, there's very, very few exceptions. Sometimes when a training is older and we do a new one, we'll re-record it. So that would be the only reason why something wouldn't be up there. Virtually everything we've done is uploaded. All the manuals, all the handouts, they're all there. So check those out. And as we'll talk about too, if you need help finding anything on the ILRU website or within our archives, we're happy to help walk you through that as well. I'm here on slide 23. Our webinars, the ISLEnet will offer 7 to 8 ISLEnet webinars each year. These are 90-minute presentations designed to introduce you to a topic or delve into a specific aspect of SIL or SILC programs or operations. Again, all of our webinars are archived online, including the materials, and you can access those at ilru.org/training-on-demand. Here on slide 24, a bit about the topics that we cover. We really do endeavor to cover everything we can think of, and we kind of roll through different topics each year with a balance between really baseline topics like the core services and consumer control, along with kind of innovative topics and things that are new or of interest in the field. We've offered hundreds of webinars over the years. The topics we've covered are really staggering in their variety of issues related to SILs and SILCs. Our tentative topics for 2021 are transition and diversion during the COVID-19 pandemic, consumer control, SIL and SILC collaboration, disability diversity and intersectionality, outreach and equity in programs and staffing. So that would be outreach and equity in programs and staffing related to disability diversity and intersectionality. Transition and diversion from congregate and restrictive settings beyond nursing homes, like rehab centers, jails, prisons, psychiatric institutions, homelessness, etc. And tentative topics for the SILCs include SILC and DSE roles and responsibilities, and SILC statewide contracts for SIL service delivery, SIL and SILC collaboration, and SPIL implementation and evaluation. And again, I know many of you wear multiple hats in your roles. You might be working at a SIL, but serving on the SILC. And again, like we said earlier, you're welcome to join any of these presentations that join you or that interest you, excuse me. Here on slide 25, the learning collaboratives. These are relatively new. We're entering our I guess 4th year of doing learning collaboratives. We've had great success with these, but they do look a little bit different. So let's talk about them for a moment. ILNet offers learning collaboratives on various topics, typically 1 a year. We're currently leading a learning collaborative on business development for community living, exploring contracts to provide sustainable revenue for SILs. Our learning collaboratives typically pair staff from 12 centers with expert facilitators to build capacity and programs together. You do apply to join collaboratives. That's unusual for us. And remember, these are a complement to all the other trainings that we do. So when we do a learning collaborative, we try to offer traditional training and TA on that topic as well, so that folks that aren't accepted into the small collaboratives still can access that information. And participants spend 10 months learning from the facilitators and each other. Most of the work is virtual, but participants do typically come together for a kickoff meeting at the beginning of each collaborative. Obviously, that's been adjusted during COVID, but I look forward to the day when we can return to in-person kickoff meetings. It's really a great way to build, to get to know each other and kind of build some cohesion and shared responsibility among the group. Okay, so that's it for our overview. I'm going to go ahead to slide 26 and turn it over to Mary Willard from April. Mary.
Awesome. Thank you, Tim. Welcome, everybody. So again, I'm Mary Willard. I work for April, and we run a lot of the peer mentoring programs. So next slide, please. Let's just dive right in. First of all, who are we? So again, we're April, much like our Nickel, we're kind of a, sister organization, if you will. And we really focus on rural independent living issues. But just like Tim mentioned earlier, I think it's important to note that you don't have to be rural to be a part of any of the programs that we coordinate through the ILNet. So next slide, please. So again, we do peer mentoring services, the rural conversation community calls, and then just good old technical assistance. Next slide. So let's talk first about peer mentoring services. So again, we know that peer support is really one of the building blocks of independent living. And the SIL and SILC peer mentoring program is no different. So basically it's, the idea that we will get a Center for Independent Living, experienced executive director or program manager, or maybe it's somebody who runs their nursing home transition program. And what we'll do is we'll connect them with somebody who would like to learn about, maybe they're a brand new ED and they want to learn more about their role. Or maybe they want to be able to grow, expand, or fine tune a program that's already existing. And so with the peer mentoring program, we ask folks to put together a 6-month contract to work with each other, to set some real specific goals, so that we can work towards some outcomes for those goals. We do it again for Centers for Independent Living and also for the statewide independent living councils. We do, in non-COVID world, have some slots that have opportunity for travel. And we're just gonna kind of be playing those by ear. For now, we're doing everything electronically until. we really want there to be consumer choice in every step of the way. So typically what we'll do is we'll set you up with, you know, maybe 2 or 3 potential mentors that you can interview and talk with as a mentee. And then you can choose somebody that really, you know, fits your learning style. Maybe they have, you know, a more akin SIL, you know, maybe they're more rural, maybe they have similar demographics. And then once you choose that person, your peer relationship working on those goals can begin. Next slide, please. Oh, I did want to mention one thing is that this is a program we partner with. So Paula McAway will be talking after me about the intensive support program. And just so folks know, we really do work together. And so if you're working with Paula in the intensive support program, which she'll talk about, you know, we'll ask that you finish up goals with her, and then you could move into the peer mentoring program to expand those goals if you needed to. And again, most of our mentorings are going to be electronic. They're carried out online. And then once the world opens back up again, what we'll do is we'll kind of look at your goal, and if it's a goal that would really benefit from being in person, you know, maybe it's shadowing a very specific program, for example, then we would look at travel costs that would be covered through the ILNet program as well. Next slide. Great. So we're actually in the process of revamping applications, but we are taking them at this point. So if you're interested in the program, please feel free to reach out to me. That's Molson, molson.april@gmail.com. And I know some of you probably know me as Mary Olson, and that's why the email relic remains. And you can also find information from the April website, ILRU, or any of our partners. And let's see, I think I might have already talked about these. Oh, the only thing I missed on this slide is that in exchange for you know, working with the mentor, we do have, if you're interested in being a mentor, through the ILNet, we're able to offer you know, an honorarium for your time working with the mentee. If you're interested in becoming a mentor, please reach out to me. And what we ask for in exchange is that the mentee, that you participate in an evaluation from our outside evaluator, so that we can get more information on how the program worked for you. And then from the mentor, we ask that you send us that final report, which will have the goals that you worked on and any outcomes or changes that occurred as a result of that relationship. Next slide, please. Great. So the next topic is our rural conversation community. This is actually one of my favorite things that I do out of all the myriad of things I do at my job. They are 1-hour Zoom meetings, and they're really there to build a community of peer support for centers serving rural areas. And we say centers serving rural areas, but I just want to throw this out there that we have many centers who would consider themselves urban centers who participate in all of the calls, because even though you're located in an urban area, I will bet that you probably serve a rural area. There's somewhere in your catchment area that has a lack of access to resources that's outside of the city. So there are no designated presenters and listeners for these calls. That's the beauty of peer support. Everyone on the call is a presenter of information and to learn from one another. We meet the third Wednesday of the month. So that means next Wednesday will be our kickoff for this group. And it meets at 11 Mountain, 1 Eastern time. And those are, again, 1-hour calls. And Sharon is dropping a handy dandy link in the chat to get more information on our upcoming one. And again, Folks who join these calls are executive directors, program managers, and really any of the direct service staff at Centers for Independent Living. We really try to cover topics that are of interest to the group in that moment. And as I bet you can all imagine, typically we've been focusing on COVID related issues, just finding out from your peers around the country, what are you struggling with? What are some creative solutions you found? And what are some questions you have for your peers? Next slide. And that's it. I'll turn it over to the lovely Paula.
My turn. Hi, everybody. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the options that are part of my job responsibilities. So let's go ahead and look at that next slide. We have some specific technical assistance that's available to you upon request, kind of like the on-demand training. When you need it, it's here. And it's available again to that full range of our target audience, which would be centers, staff, consumers, board, managers, SILCs, council members, DSE, the SILC staff, DSEs themselves. So across the board in our networks, we make available to you some options for technical assistance that's specific to your question. So you can call me. I'm on Pacific time, and I put that in there because some of the very eager East Coast people will otherwise get me out of bed in the morning. So just remember, please not at 8 o'clock your time. But you can call me. That cell phone number is always there. And if I'm on another line or something, it will take a message and I'll get right back to you. Same with email, I'm very quick. So if you have a specific technical assistance request, you want to know where can I find this regulation, or how should we interpret consumer control, or whatever it is. Those are just two that came in this morning. So to give you an idea, but you can request those anytime on email, also by phone, and you'll get that very quickly. There's no charge for this. It's all supported in our grant. And the main focus is how to apply the law and the regulations at your center, because the law and the regulations are both foundational to what you're required to do. And so I will help you with that, help you understand regulations, compliance, guidance. We've got some guidance that is in other documents besides the regulations. Any specific written instructions that we have, or written information that we have about how centers operate, that's I try to keep on top of all that so that I can answer your questions about whether or not you can do something, or what the act would say. I do want to say that most of the time I can't tell you no. I'm not your compliance officer, but you'll hear the no in what I say, which is, I don't see how you can justify that as an independent living skill or an independent living program because, however it fits. I can't see that that's related to COVID-19. So tell me how it's related to COVID-19. If you're going to apply CARES Act funds to it, you tell me your justification. Let's hear what you have to say, because it has to be related to COVID-19. So those kinds of questions will kind of let you know whether what you're asking is typical or not, and kind of what you ought to be looking at in order to know whether or not you're meeting the requirements of the law, the regulations, and the other guidance that we have. Next slide. So in addition to that specific technical assistance, we also can put in place two different ways that we do intensive support. The first one, and the most common one, is when a center is found out of compliance. Now, when a center is found out of compliance, this can be at the federal level. So your project officer or someone from ACL or from the Office of Independent Living Programs, someone has reviewed information from you and have said you are out of compliance. So when you are found out of compliance, the next step is they want you to develop a corrective action plan. If you get that, I can help you with that. So I can help you identify what actions you'll need to take to meet or correct whatever they've identified. Now, what's happening right now is that centers are typically found out of compliance either through the comp system. The comp is the compliance system that our funder applies. Some of that is done as part of review of, for example, the program progress report or review of other things that they've requested to you, or sometimes they do an on-site visit. But in any of those processes, they may find something that they want you to fix that they feel is out of compliance. And I can help you with identifying that, identifying what steps you want to take, and then providing you with support until you've got that situation turned around, hopefully at your center. SILCs are not found out of compliance as often, and centers that are Part B only are not found out of compliance at the federal level typically because they are sub-grantees of the DSE. So we haven't been telling you what all these initials stand for, but the DSE is the designated state entity. It's typically VR, although it's not VR in all of the, it's not rehabilitation in all of the states, but it often is. And they are responsible for reviewing the Part B centers and the SILCs for some compliance issues, especially related to proper use of financial things and the meeting of the requirements. Now, the SILC has a lot of autonomy, and there are a lot of limitations on what the DSE can impose. But that is usually where you'll see a compliance review and corrective action is coming out of either the SILC or either the DSE or for either the SILC or the Part B centers, if you're Part B only. When we do assistance to you, we do that usually by phone or email or a combination. We send documents back and forth. We go through and say, okay, what do you need to change in this policy? What do you need to change in your practices? And like I said, typically that's coming from the either the program officer at the Office of Independent Living Programs or from the DSE. Now, used to be that I went on site to do that a few times a year if it was a really significant issue. Right now, of course, we're not traveling. We're doing all of this remotely. We may see that travel kick up again, but our budget right now doesn't allow very much travel. So, so most of this will be done remotely. We can do network-wide training or training for specific folks, if not on site, can do it online. So if I'm working with you in intensive support, I can help you with board training, for example. So we can decide what needs to be done and we can present that. Sometimes I can do staff training. If the issue that's identified needs to be taught to a whole bunch of people, we can get those people in a room and we can do it on a Zoom, of course, just like we all often do. So on occasion, we may still at some point do on-site training again. Some of you have been to those statewide network on-site trainings, but right now it's all remote at the moment. Next slide, Tim, thanks. So we also do a lot of technical assistance by, as I said before, email. I'll answer your requests. And I just want to mention that I do that in writing mostly because sometimes that's what you need me to do. It's not unusual for me to get a request from an executive director who says, I have a board member who wants us to do X. And I know that's probably not a good idea. So could you explain what the requirements are and how this would usually be viewed? So I can answer you in writing and you can put that in your board packet for your next meeting. And sometimes that's useful to you. So, so just kind of keep in mind that that may be the way you want to approach it. We can talk by phone too, but we may want to do some things in writing so that you have stuff that you can take on to your board or to your staff. I also do pertinent topics on my blog, and those posts are not always weekly, but pretty much weekly. So you can subscribe. There's a link there in the slide. And you can subscribe to that. I'd like you to subscribe so I can say how many subscribers I have. That's always a nice thing to do. But once you subscribe, then you get a notice to your inbox, and it says, you know, the post that was posted that day in the topic, so you can get it more conveniently. So that's one of the things you can do. One of the other things that I do weekly, or if you want to do it less often, we can schedule it for less often, is especially with new executive directors of either SILCs or centers. One of the things I do is a weekly call. And I always tell my folks, well, you can make a list of the things that aren't urgent. You can make a list of all the things you want to ask me or want to run by me and say, you know, is this making sense? Or, you know, policies you'd like to request samples of, or whatever. You can put that on your list, and then on our weekly call, you can go down your list and I can give you that support for those specific items. I can answer your questions and send you documents and so forth that might be of assistance to you. So if you're a new executive director and aren't signed up for this yet, my email is in the chat as well as in the slides. So do take time to drop me a note and we'll set up a time. New EDs, I usually say, are the first 2 years, although we see a little bit of longer times sometimes, and some of you don't find me till you've already been there a year. So you know, we'll do whatever makes sense, but that's another kind of intensive support. We can actually have a weekly call. If you don't want to do it weekly, we can set it up at monthly or however you'd like to do it. So especially if you're new, it helps you with orienting on what it is that really needs to happen and what you need to do to get on the mailing list, to get your, you know, the credentials set up with all of the different websites where a director needs to be and so forth. So we can help you walk through those issues. Next slide.
And here we are.
That's it. Well, let me say something then before
Yeah,
I
go ahead.
forgot that was the last slide. One thing I wanted to mention about, we talked about subscribing from the calls. How did I miss those calls though? I must have just skipped over the line. We have regular calls. We talked about it earlier too. We have regular calls, monthly calls for all executive directors, not just new ones. A monthly call for all program managers, quarterly call for financial managers, a quarterly call for DSEs, and then my office hours where you can just drop in and chat with your peers. And then the SILC call we also mentioned. So we have all these calls that take place, and you often ask, how can I get on the mailing list for the calls? And it is, you were given some information on signing up, but I want to give you a couple of hints. Often when somebody says to us, I used to be on that mailing list, but now I'm not, it's because someone unsubscribed. Now, maybe you didn't do it intentionally, but what we find sometimes is that you forwarded the information to someone else and they unsubscribed at the bottom of that email that you forwarded to them, and they unsubscribed you without you realizing it. So just know that, and know to look in your junk mail, because we do send these to a lot of people. So sometimes we get funneled over there and you need to allow it. So those are just 2 hints for making sure you get the mail. Now I'm done. Questions are all yours.
All right, thanks, Paula. Well, here we are at our final Q&A break. So I hope this has been helpful. I think, you know, while we wait to see if any questions come in, really, we are trying to present a comprehensive training and technical assistance program on anything you could possibly want to know about. So I hope what you're taking away from this, especially if you're new to IL, is from introductions to new topics in a call or a webinar, all the way through to, you know, intensive one-on-one support or mentorship. We are here to help. And while our trainings are, of course, organized under specific titles, or you might have mentoring or assistance related to a specific issue, our technical assistance activities are the sort of the mortar between the bricks, right? So that contact information you saw on one of the early slides, I think it's slide 3, if I'm right. I really do hope you'll reach out, because we're here to help with any and all of this. So let's see if there are any questions. We've got 20 minutes left. We got plenty of time, so don't be shy. You can enter questions in the Q&A tab in Zoom. You can email me at tim@nickel.org. you're welcome to use the chat feature at streamtext.net. And if you're only on the telephone, you're welcome to press *9. And here's a question in the chat that I just noticed. Lisa asked, is there a peer support or partnership for staff looking to move into a middle manager role at a SIL? So what would be, I know Paula and Mary, you all have a number of peer calls that you coordinate. Is there anything like that that would be a good fit for folks looking for support from others that are interested in sort of mobility and management roles at SILs?
Yeah, I would start with the office hours because they're wide open for any topic, right? And they last 2 hours, and you can come in and just listen if you want to anytime. I will also say that we don't really restrict the attendance at this point to any of these calls. And so if you see something that's a topic that you really want to grow in, you're going to probably find a way to do that. So that would also be, an option. And I think Mary's going to tell you more.
Yeah, and I was just going to add to that we've done mentorships before with program managers as well. So, we really encourage you to go through your process first of, maybe a mentoring program within your SIL, any kind of orientation program you might have in your SIL itself. And then, if that person's in a new role, we could connect them with an experienced program manager through the mentoring program.
Yeah, and as far as accessing technical assistance with me by email or by phone, I don't ask you, I do ask you what your position is, but we don't screen you based on your position. So if you're wanting to grow in a specific area and you have questions about where you might get some expertise on that area, one of us can help you find that.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, next question comes from Erica, who's wondering, since those 6-week courses will not begin until next year, will we have more webinars? And Brooke has been generous enough to offer to respond. Brooke.
Yeah, that's a great question. So Tim really covered the webinars that we're going to be offering. And I believe it was 6 to 7 webinars each year. So the purpose of revamping the online courses is we just really want to make them better, but there are a great variety of other modalities for training and technical assistance that are still going to be available. So the rapid courses are going to be really good. In addition to a lot of the on-demand trainings on the website. If you are looking for a training on a particular topic, definitely, like Tim and everyone else on the call has mentioned, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're here to help you.
Thanks, Brooke. Okay, other questions? We have plenty of time left. I'll give about 15 seconds to see if anything comes in. And I hope you will, again, especially for folks that are new to IL or maybe in a new role, I hope you'll poke around the ILRU website after today's call. It really is an outstanding resource. And that on-demand page, I know when we do, especially when we do, I feel like it's our on-location trainings where we have a little more time together and we're chatting. I'm always so proud of the number of resources that are up there and the sheer amount of topics we hit on. Because I feel like people are often surprised when we go through the roll call, the Rolodex of topics that you can learn more about on the webpage. So do check that out, especially if we end a little bit early. You can use a few minutes to poke around there and see if there's something that interests you that you may not have been aware was up there. Okay, I don't see any questions that have come in, so I'm going to begin to close the webinar. If any do come in, I'll certainly address them before we end. Sharon just posted in the chat, check it all out at www.ilru.org. Indeed, it's a great resource. Okay, so a couple things. I'm going to go ahead to slide 39. And this is the the link to the evaluation. This is not a live link. I'm sharing my screen here. You won't be able to click that link, but two ways that you can access this easily. First of all, when I close the webinar in a few minutes, this link, this evaluation form, I should say, will literally open in your browser on your screen. So if you do nothing, it will open on your computer and you can fill it out. If you're on the phone or you need to get somewhere, I certainly understand. The easiest way to access it then would be from the confirmation email that you received with the connection instructions and materials for today's webinar. So down towards the bottom of that confirmation email, you'll see the evaluation form. You can click on that. It's this very same link, excuse me. And again, if you haven't filled one out before, these Qualtrics surveys that we use for the IELNet trainings they're very short and easy to complete. But we really do need to know what you think and where we can make improvements. Numerical scores are helpful, but we always love comments. So especially if you have strong opinions, let us know in a few words what you liked or what we could do better depending on your thoughts. Okay. Let's see, I've got a chat message I want to check before I move on. Okay, just a thanks from the audience. All right. We will upload the recording of this webinar if you want to revisit or you want to share it with one of your colleagues. Again, that will be on ILRU's website within 48 hours, usually sooner, but give us 2 days. Sometimes it takes a while to get the transcript or recording from Zoom and get that all uploaded. I hope this has been helpful, and don't be a stranger. So whether it's in regards to today's content that we've gone through, topics you'd like to suggest for the future, or just about anything you can imagine related to programs and operations of SILs and SILCs, we would love to hear from you. That's what we're here for. So with that, I will give you a few minutes back in your day. I want to thank all of you for joining us. We had a great turnout. I know you all are busy. I appreciate that. I want to thank all of our presenters too for putting this all together and running through your programs. So I hope you all have a wonderful afternoon, and we will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.